The intro, dude.
Hi. Hey.
Hello. Welcome to episode 12 of the APE Audio Podcast. I'm Batman. I'm searching for justice.
I'm Coloran, and I hate my dad's.
I am an unfaced Jedi warrior, I think.
I'm Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey,
Do I get an X-Wing?
Pod racer, maybe.
Pod racer?
Today we're sitting down with the one and only Kyle Wappler.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Some of you may know him as Scene Daddy. I don't know if that's a name that he appreciats or not, but it's
Yeah,
a name that's been floating around out there.
I'm fine with it. It's cool.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I think it came out of an interview with I did one with Beth Knowles at the Community Edition, and
Oh, is that
They-
like yeah?
they put
I
it
saw
as a
that.
title saying KW Scene Dad, and now it's just kind of stuck. So it's a thing now. I'm cool with it.
Do people
like it.
shorten it? Do they just call you Dad?
It's just that.
Hi,
I
Dad.
think that's where it all began. She started asking me about like working with younger bands and stuff, and I said it was cool, minus the fact that they started calling me Dad, and I started to feel pretty old about
Does
myself.
your kid ever go like, why do they call you dad?
Scene Daddy.
Yeah, seen Daddy Kane.
So Kyle is a entrepreneur extraordinaire, if you will, following after his father's footsteps, I would say.
Yeah.
He's a promoter, booker, event planner, journalist,
Yeah, sort of.
editor-in-chief of a magazine at one point.
Yeah.
Is there anything else under your repertoire?
hunk.
Oh.
Absolute
thank
hunk.
you. No, you.
Sensitive right there.
Sensitive.
It's my spot.
Yeah, do you want to tell the people in nicer words what you get up to in case they don't know?
Yeah, sure. So I run Have Hope, which is a local concert promotion company in KW here, and basically I spend most of my time with that company booking and promoting bands from all over Ontario and wherever else I'm lucky enough to bring them in from, and I kind of do all that from ground up. So I pick up tour packages or individual bands, and then kind of go from there, build locals around it, and try to create cool shows for the city.
Hell yeah. I'm just going to let everybody know that he's probably going to play it a little bit modest, but if
Wasn't for
it's
you.
up to my opinion, I'm going to say this man single-handedly restoked the fires of the local scenes over the past couple of
Thanks,
years.
man. I appreciate that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It was not an easy feat either, I'm
Try
sure.
my best.
No, it does make me wonder sometimes, though. It's if you weren't holding it down, what would it be, right?
I
Like, what
don't
would
know.
be?
I like to think that somebody else would kind of pick up the reins, but I
But I wonder how they would have done it if it would have
Yeah,
held up for this many years. You
yeah,
know
I
what I
don't
mean?
know.
Just that kind of thing.
I don't know. I guess like I started with Team Bloodshed and our clothing back in the day, and so I was kind of like groomed a little bit. I don't really have that with Have Hope. There doesn't seem to be any 16-year-old kids like chomping at the bit to do punk and hardcore music, you know. So I don't know. I don't know what would
Yeah.
happen. That's
Interesting.
Well, you have a 25-year-old kid right here who's willing to help you.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm sure there's a lot more
I'm
than
down
me.
with that.
So we wanted to start with a little icebreaker. This is a funny-ass video we saw this week. If you want to dive into this with
Sounds
us.
good.
You want to hit it, Devin?
You okay? What's wrong? Did you come from the hospital? Yeah, but I had to go pick up my moped. What's wrong with your face?
Oh my
You
god.
need to go back to the hospital.
All right, we could kill it. So for any of the audio listeners, this strange woman escaped from the hospital just rolls up on a moped beside this vehicle. That was the screaming you hear closing in from the distance.
I
don't
guess her
think she
face
should
is
ride a
wrecked,
moped.
but
I don't think she should be driving, you
yeah.
guys.
I don't think she should be out of the hospital.
You know what? It doesn't seem safe.
That last line is so weird. I gotta tell my dad that this is his exit on the freeway.
Yeah.
What?
It says right at the end there.
I gotta tell my dad this is the exit. I want to know the backstory to this.
Well, like,
why they were filming all
yeah, I was saying to Patrick, how loud was this woman, and how long before she had reached like the camera focal point? Like, because they had the camera ready, and you hear her
rolling.
coming in the distance.
Oh my god!
And it just stops perfectly where the camera is located. But if any of you guys want to search it, it's called "Old Lady Escapes Hospital to Get Her Moped," and in parentheses, "What's wrong with your face?"
Such a weird question to ask somebody. What's wrong with your face?
Oh my god!
You can't just ask somebody what's wrong with their face.
Well, I was trying to look at it too, and if you look really close in the video, like her face is kind of like tilted, like she like got a serious injury going on or something.
Oh my
but she's
God.
probably just like so doped up that she doesn't even notice.
Yeah.
How the fuck did she get?
Yeah, she's driving it pretty well if she's.
That's true.
Where did she get it from?
It's hers.
Who gave her the keys?
I had to go get my moped.
Who signed that over? Does she have insurance? I have so many questions.
All right, so I hope this strange video made you feel a little more comfortable.
Oh yeah.
So off the top of my head, I wanted to ask you a question. So Patrick has been matching with a lot of single young mothers on Tinder who keep bringing up that they would like Patrick to take care of their children. Do you have any advice for a new father?
Well, I mean, it really depends on their age, I guess. You know, I got to start with them young. So.
Just be there. You're not my dad.
I don't have stepfather advice, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure you have some advice.
Well, I mean, just be there for them.
Sure, dude.
Just be there for
Treat
them.
them like they're one of your own.
Yeah, exactly, man.
course, yeah,
exactly.
I'll do that.
Just love them, raise them.
Wow. Truer words. Should have sent a poet.
A lot of wisdom.
And the more time they play at sports, the tireder they are later,
Okay,
and the less
perfect.
havoc they wreak.
Great. Looking forward to it.
There you go. There you go.
Good luck with Tinder.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
we,
don't even know about
brutal.
that, man. I don't even know about the Tinder world.
It's
Oh,
brutal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I got to miss that.
It's probably a good thing.
Good luck, guys. I don't even know where I'd navigate. Like, I don't even know where to begin on that sort of
Oh,
thing
we can
anymore.
get you set up.
I'm all right, man. I'm good not navigating that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, babe.
all right, so we can kind of hop back to before this video. We were talking about like how you got your start in the scene. How old were you when you started? You were taken under somebody's wing.
Yeah,
13,
Andy,
14 years old.
Yeah, I was around when I was probably 14 years old. It was kind of like a really strange series of events that unfolded, I guess. So at the time, I was in elementary school. I had started going to my first punk rock and local shows, and at that time, my dad happened to start his print shop, and Andy, who owned Team Bloodshed at that time, and Kurt and Corey Crossman, who owned Art Clothing and Civilian Printing, they were actually printing flyers with my dad, and my dad kind of made the connection that, hey, like, my kid likes these shows and goes to these shows, maybe he could hand out some flyers for you and do that sort of thing. So I started handing out flyers for them at my shows, and in high school that basically meant I would go to if anyone went to Resurrection, you know, the floating staircase was basically a staircase that went into the middle of the school, and I used to kind of just stand up there and throw them off into the middle of the forum at the end of the day, and then watch the 500 people at the bottom all pick them up because they wanted to know what the hell just came off the floating staircase.
What was the conversion rate off of this tactic?
I don't know, but there was like a hell of a lot more attendance back in 2004 than there is now.
Going back to Res and throwing it.
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe that's where I went wrong. Like, Facebook came out and I thought, oh damn, like, this is making marketing so much easier. I got to go back to just like literally throwing things off balconies.
I feel like
guess.
for a point, Facebook and Instagram did allow you to market a lot more like
Absolutely.
aggressively and well, and then they started catching on like, oh wait, we can get people to
Yeah.
pay
Oh,
to
people
do
are
this.
getting free marketing.
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
charge them.
Hell
Yeah,
no.
and now it's almost become so convoluted that it's like it's become difficult, and it's this big game that you have to play with them, because once you start actually pumping money into Facebook advertising, they diminish your organic reach.
Oh, interesting.
So now you have to work twice as hard to hit the people that you were hitting before
through organic reach
tactics,
like hashtags and
yeah.
stuff like that.
So it's kind of crazy, but I mean, in the beginning, it made things easier, and it still does.
Sure, it's not completely useless.
Oh yeah, I mean, on Facebook, it's like we've got access to 5,000 people at
Right.
any given time. Like, it's a lot easier than handing out 5,000 flyers.
Yeah,
and
no shit.
I mean, that's obviously still very important, is
Yeah.
having the flyers out there and reaching different places. But it's crazy the amount of reach that you can get off something like that now.
For sure. So you then branched off, and you were kind of doing a new era.
Yeah,
New
yeah,
Era
oh, yeah.
Productions.
I guess we started with a very different question. I sidetracked. My bad.
That's
guys.
all right. That's all right. I'll work my best to reel it back in.
I was promoting for Andy and doing all this, and for Kurt and Corey, and in around 2008, both of them had kind of stopped doing shows, with the exception of the Arc Battle of the Bands was still going on at that time, and Koi Music Festival. But
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Yeah.
R.I.P. But no one was really kind of doing the local level shows, and I had just started my first band at that time that was actually show ready and good to play. So I felt the need to kind of create something. So I came out with a New Era Productions and did my first show in Wellesley, of all places.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that went over.
Were you
really
positively
well.
received?
Yeah, it was. People were stoked on it. I mean, I think there was like 150 people out at a show in Wellesley.
Nothing
It was
happens
like-
in Wellesley.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
like
good turnout.
Yeah.
so. I was pretty excited about that, and then that kind of opened some new doors, and then Paul Maxwell opened Maxwell's around the same time that I did, and I started working with him and doing a lot of shows there and at the 515 in Cambridge. And it was more or less just a thing that I would reach out to friends' bands and be like, hey, you guys want to do something cool? And they were like, yeah, fuck yeah, we haven't
Sure.
played a show in a while, right? And so that happened, and then there was just kind of the snowball effect where
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was getting tour offers and bigger bands.
Cool.
And once that started happening, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, people care, I guess. Like, this is something I can keep doing, and people might actually give a damn about.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was so, and now I am here 10 years later.
So I
Have
guess
hope.
it was kind of like that fake it till you make it thing. Like, I know you're putting in like
Yeah.
effort and stuff, but
Exactly,
maybe not
it
taking
was-
it like so seriously. And
Yeah,
then
not at all. And I
one
mean,
day people
I
start
kinda carried
approaching
that
you, and you're
in.
like, oh, this is like legitimized
yeah,
now. Okay.
there's a like I'm reaching people, I guess.
Cool.
And yeah, I guess it was kind of that. And I mean, I still carry that mentality of don't take yourself too seriously. And
Sure.
you know, I mean, I'm throwing punk and alternative shows here,
Yeah.
right? Like, the second that you start sitting there going, yeah, I'm gonna make $1 million off of
Right,
these
right,
shows, and like I'm gonna that's when you
That's when you
give up.
lose the soul of
lose
like
the-
what you
Yeah.
were initially after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You lose the fun and everything that it was originally about, and it suddenly changes from, you know, like this awesome hobby where you get to hang out with different people and meet new people, to something that you're constantly driven, like constantly focused on, and it takes up all of your
Right,
time. And I
right.
mean, it's not that it doesn't take up a lot of my time. I'm sure if my wife's listening, she's like, you're on your phone all the damn time anyway. But I mean, it's different, right? Instead of looking at it as a way of like, oh, you know, we can make this into something huge, it's more like, who wants to do something cool, who wants to play. And like, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of been really important in lasting 10 years. And
Hell
it's-
yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, like that kind of mentality is sort of what inspired us to like get this whole thing going.
it's
We're like,
awesome, man.
if fucking Kyle can do it, like why not us? Like,
Hell yeah.
and we'll act in a catalyst to like kind of support that community that you've already been brewing over there, right? Like,
That's what it's all
it'd be
about,
one thing
man.
for us to like copy you and like do our own promotions and shit and bookings and whatever, but like why not aid the local scene and like we can give artists like a platform to come talk
Oh,
on.
absolutely.
like,
and
shoot the
it's
shit.
so important, man. Like, there's not a lot of people that, you know, want to put the time and effort into alternative music the way that you guys are doing here. And like, shit, man, you got multiple cameras, you got a
Yeah.
room with a green screen. Like, it's crazy. But multiple cameras.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, it's extremely important, and I'm grateful that you guys have me out here today.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh,
It's a
thank you guys.
privilege.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
So after a new era, you worked with another fellow
Yeah.
on Have Hope, and then you sort of inherited
Yeah,
Have Hope?
yeah. So, a New Era Productions. As I got these tour packages rolling in, I got offered Ligeia, and Ligeia is a band that
yeah.
I used to love when I was younger. Yeah, man. A lot of people
Yeah.
forget about that band, but they're fucking awesome.
The band that goes like the I've been drinking.
Yeah, I've been thinking.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if that's
And so
Jeez.
I got offered these guys, and at that
Crazy.
point in time, Andy, who started Team Bloodshed and now had changed his name to Have Hope with Yoshka and Rob Pugh from Gracefield. They all worked collaboratively on it. Yoshka kind of used it as an outlet for his design, and Andy used it for promotion purposes.
Okay.
And so I got offered Ligeia, and I kind of looked at it and was like, this is one of the biggest shows I've been offered so far at this point, and it was always one of Andy's bands that he always did. And because Andy kind of introduced me to all of this and showed me the ropes, I felt obligated to give him a shout and be like, hey man, Ligeia is coming through. I know you haven't done anything in a while, but would you like to kind of get back together and do this show with me? So he agreed to it. He was stoked on it, and we put that one on. And then shortly after, I got offered Fallen Archaea, which was also another band that Andy had worked with. So again, we worked with each other, and then it just kind of became this thing where we're like, well, I'm ready to go out and do the groundwork. You have the established base here. Why don't we kind of join forces and make something bigger than what either of us could be individually,
cool.
and kind of share the workload? And so we did that for a number of years, and then I rolled out Breakdown Magazine with Andy as well. And then and Devin was one of our writers. He helped. He did way better writing than I did.
Good job, Devin.
And so we rolled out that magazine, and Andy eventually just kind of decided, it was too much. It was time for him to focus on other things with his life and
Cool.
step away from shows. And so
You
I
held it down, man.
Yeah, and here I am. I think it's been, I don't know, how long ago did Breakdown stop, Devin? 5 years?
Five.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, so it's been at least 4 or 5 years now since I kind of took it over and just kind of been going. And now it's hit a point where, it's crazy. Like the first 5 years, I think that Andy and I were doing stuff together, we did about 100 shows. And then last year alone, I hit almost 130.
Damn.
So it's
Oh.
just kind of snowballed into this
Yeah.
ridiculous
One of
monster.
our questions we wanted to ask was like, from an outside perspective, it's pretty apparent that you've been putting on like a lot more shows,
Yeah.
and getting your feet wet in like different genres and
Yeah.
everything, right? Is it still solely you? Like I know like Jamie comes
Yeah,
to
I
help you
mean-
occasionally, and you have people like come
Yeah.
help you like on the streets or whatever.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of guys that help me out. As far as running the actual events, I've kind of taken a step back from being at every single event that I do,
Right.
because just with how many I do, it's damn near impossible to
Definitely.
maintain being at 100 shows, working a full-time job, and having 2 kids and a wife. And,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
trying to
there's nights of
maintain-
the week where there's like 3 events going on that,
Oh,
that have folks put on, right?
So it's turned into something crazy, but I've luckily got a lot of friends that love going out to local shows and are more than willing to help out and
Hell
run
yeah.
doors. And it's kind of a cool feeling being able to be like, hey, I want to hire you guys for a night to work a show.
Sure, sure.
And so that's kind of a cool thing to be able to like help out friends and do that kind of sort of thing. But as far as like a groundwork background sort of work, like it's still just me.
Yeah. Are you completely comfortable with that, or do you feel like it's getting to an unsustainable point, or it might hit that point eventually?
I'm still at a point where I'm comfortable with it. I kind of have a way of streamlining stuff now. I kind of have like a workflow, and I just go through the motions. It'd be nice sometimes to have like a secretary to just like sift
no
through
doubt, no doubt.
emails. Like, I
Yeah,
was
what
just
does your
on-
cell phone look like?
Oh
Is it just
man,
a fucking
it's
mess?
crazy. I was just on vacation in the Dominican Republic a couple
Oh,
weeks
man.
ago, and so I purposely like turned my phone off, and I didn't realize that the lobby had Wi-Fi, so I was carrying my phone on me for the camera, and I walked into the Wi-Fi zone, and it was
Oh,
the
no.
third day, and I cleared out all of my notifications except for my messages and my emails and my text, and I had 187 missed messages in 3 days.
Holy smokes,
So
man.
it's like, and 90% of them were band stuff, and I think there was like 3 from my buddies that were watching my dog, and they were like, "Yo, your dog's cool, man," and like the rest were like bands.
The
and
bands are way
showrooms
more
and
needy than a
stuff.
dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle, we need you.
We need you.
There's no scene.
It's been 3 days. We don't know what's going on.
The scene's crumbling.
There's no shows anymore.
What's happening, man?
You just send like a beam to a satellite that just like puts bands like in Harmony Lunch and like
It's
chainsaws.
done.
Yeah.
I'll just start sending the bands from the Dominican over.
That's
like, all
hilarious.
right, guys, here we go.
How was the vacation? Was it
Yeah.
nice?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Any cool
man.
stories?
It was great. I mean, I got to go ziplining through the jungle with my
Damn.
son.
Hell
and
yeah.
wife, and
All the
that was
white
pretty
people love
sweet.
zip
Oh
lining.
man, it was great. It was great. We got to eat some like cocoa beans and stuff, which like don't look anything like what I thought they would.
Sure.
Like open up these cocoa beans and it's like they look like white slugs, man, and they've got the texture of one, and
Ew.
they're like the sweetest sugary flavor, like no
Oh.
cocoa flavor at all, and I was
Damn.
kind of like blown away by that.
Interesting.
And I mean, I'm easily kind of amused
that
by
them?
things, so people
I feel like anybody
is
who's
it?
not
Yeah.
amused by that
that's like the-
should just fuck
yeah,
off.
see the
Oh,
white
yeah.
stuff? Yeah, that's you like suck on it and you get all that stuff out, and they tell you not to bite into it, but I guess if you bite into it, that's where you get the actual cocoa, right?
Yeah.
But the outside stuff's like sweeter than sugar, man.
Cool.
Weird.
It's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a candy. The one guy that gave me it started chewing on the leaves though, and we know what that means.
How
Was he
big is
bugging out
one
a
of
little
those
bit?
beans? Like one of those-
It's, yeah, like half the size of your head.
holy shit.
Yeah, it's pretty
Damn.
big, man. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah.
My kid brought one back and tried to give it to kids at his school. I don't think we're supposed to bring it back.
It's a bomb!
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Get that out of the school. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we heard you had a cocoa bean. It's
I've
in the
got a pot
garbage
of
now
Coke.
for any authority figures that might be watching.
Yeah.
It started to go bad, and I threw it out. Okay, we don't have to worry about
Yeah,
plants.
lots of cops watch our show.
Oh yeah.
Never know, man. They found the Hellcat somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's
dig into that.
Yeah, let's get
I
into
wanna
that.
talk-
Oh,
We wanted to
God.
ask you a lot about that. So, you initially were booking the Dirty Nil
Yeah.
for the opening night of the Hellcat.
Yeah,
kind of
well,
insane.
it wasn't like the opening night. We had a few underground shows. So,
Okay.
you know, it was the KWC DIY guys and 3 Nines guys. They had this space that they were jamming out of, and it just so happened that this
Elvis Freshly.
Elvis Freshly, yeah, Elvis Freshly, and they had like this massive space that was attached to it that they somehow gained access to. So we built like this
Somehow.
well, they knew the landlord, and there was another tenant that was renting it at the time, but he was like chill with people doing shows, and he was like, yeah, you can do whatever. So we
Yeah,
built
just
like this
fuck my
really
place
cool
right up.
stage, man, and like
Cool.
he was using it for like he was like cooking for his friends and stuff on like
Oh,
weekends. So he was
cooking.
Yeah,
like,
cooking.
do whatever you want. No, man, like Jamaican meals. It was great.
Oh,
We'd
that's
go in
cool,
there
that's
and get
cool.
like jerk chicken and stuff
Hell
while we're
yeah.
like making. Yeah, it was
What?
awesome, dude. And so we built this stage in it, and like there's a sound booth, and it was pretty sweet. We had Dimitri Dimka from Celebrity Spray Paint come do like this wicked Gord Downey mural on the one wall, and spent like a bunch of time kind of like reworking the place, and we had like reworked the washrooms in it, and we had done like a couple underground punk shows out of it, and then we booked the Dirty Nil there because that on its own was like this weird thing. Their agent reached out to me, and we've worked together a bunch of times, and was like, yo, so the Dirty Nil's got some time off, and we're looking for like just cool different places to play at. And I was like, well, it just so happens we've got this space, and I kind of told him about it and like sent him some pictures, and he was like, this is exactly what we're looking for. So by chance and timing, we ended up booking the Dirty Nil here, and 3 days before it, a couple cruisers and the fire marshal showed up and got our landlord to open up the door, and they came in and basically raided the place. They were like pulling cushions off the couches and shit like that. So
Look at
I
how
don't know
flammable these
what-
cushions are.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of fire code my cushions were violating, but like that happened, and yeah. So and basically they told us it wasn't to code, didn't really tell us why, and we're not able to get back in there. So
Interesting.
now there's now.
So
now they
not
watch
only
it.
were you booking there, you also like had stake in this place too.
To an extent, like the landlord there was like really cool and was like kind of doing it on like a month-to-month basis.
Okay,
and,
sure.
and just kind of let us do our thing. And there was a tenant already in there, so it was more or less like we were just helping him pay rent
Sure.
and do that. And I mean, it didn't really last long, so it's like there was other than the staging and stuff that we built, like we lost out on that, but really nothing else.
Not too
kind
big of a loss.
Yeah, and thankfully, like night school was able to accommodate Dirty Nil within a 3-day span and let
That's
us put on the show there.
Shout out to
so,
night school.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
night school for that one. Thanks, Devin. And yeah, so and then that story even goes farther into funny because my wife went into labor that day with Jude. So on top of that, I am now calling my friends and being like, "Hey guys, so the Dirty Nil's playing night school, and I can't be there because I'm having a baby tonight." So I was coordinating with Chris and Dylan for
Holy.
39s and KWC DIY, and like taking my wife to the hospital at the same time so that we could go have our baby. And luckily, you know, those guys run shows as well and had it all down. So they're like, "Don't even worry. Don't text us. Just go have fun."
That's
And,
awesome.
like, let us know how it all goes. So
Yeah.
and they nailed it out, and it was great.
Really shows how
dope.
the community can come together and help you in
Yeah,
these trying
exactly.
times.
So
Axel says hi. Hi, buddy.
hi, Axel.
Hi, Axel. That's my oldest son.
Hey, dude.
So
That's my boy.
even though the place got raided and shut down, or you guys aren't allowed to roll out the ideas that you guys wanted to, do you think there's any plans down the line to get a similar venture going on?
I would love to have my own venue.
Yeah.
I mean, doing the number of shows that I do, it just kind of makes sense. But I mean, it's not an easy industry
No,
at
not at
all
all.
to make a go at it. Like how many bars come and go every
Yeah.
single year, and so
Location.
yeah, exactly. And in a university town, it's kind of weird because you would think being close to the universities would help a lot, but in alternative and punk and stuff like that,
They
it
don't
doesn't
care about
seem
you.
to make a difference at all.
No.
I think
at
it's
all.
kind of because you're like crowded, maybe like around like all the bars that it kind of like just overwhelms it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had like a little nook, like
Yeah,
in
it's-
kind of
It's always so funny. Like we've got 5 bands playing at Harmony Lunch, and there's like 30 people at it. Meanwhile, there's a lineup down the street from Pub on King. There's like 1,000
Yeah.
students in it waiting to watch an iPod.
Well, that's I had mentioned this to these guys a couple of weeks back, where they would say like, "Oh yeah, we're playing Harmony Lunch like 9 or 10 o'clock." People start kind of funneling out. It's
Yeah.
because the bars are opening at
Yeah,
that time, right?
and
So
they're
like
going.
they might be walking down from residence and they're passing Harmony Lunch. They're like, "Oh, let's check out what's going on here."
Yeah.
And then they look at their phone. Oh, Phil's is opening. Chainsaw's opening.
Time
Blah
for
blah
some
blah. Pub on
$3
King is
beer.
opening. Yeah. and then they just kind of like move along.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't have like a lot of walk-ins as far as like the university culture goes. Like it's definitely an aging scene.
Sure.
Like we're all predominantly 20 plus, and like when I look at the 20-year-old guys, they're looking at me like, "Hey, Dad." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm only 8 years older than you guys.
Yeah,
Settle down.
yeah,
You'll be here
chill."
soon, man. I remember 20."
do you find that though with you booking now more genres that it's opening up like this age gap that you're kind of
For
being like,
sure.
oh cool, that's what the younger crowd's digging, oh cool, that's what the older crowd's digging, okay, now I know
Absolutely.
how to more mediate shows for certain
Demographics, yeah, absolutely. Like the EDM shows and hip hop especially is huge with the younger crowds.
yeah
and
Lockwood
stuff.
was
like,
talking to us about how he noticed that like at the hip hop shows,
it's
like it's
19
just
and 20-year-olds.
it's pretty much like the scene somewhat of
It totally is. And you know what? Like the biggest trend that I'm noticing right now is people doing like this new age emo hip hop. Like it's,
yeah, that's the
you know,
huge,
like, Little
wave,
Peep
yeah.
died and the whole thing just like exploded. Like that's
Yeah.
what everyone wants to do. So like when you say it's like the new scene, man, like it's
It
guys
is.
with lip rings and stretched ears and
Yeah.
dyed hair and
but they're
like,
playing like a backing track and
yeah,
they're like rapping and
yeah,
it's just like if 10 years ago it was the same but it
wasn't.
But that's
yeah,
the
and
beauty
I
of
mean, it
music,
makes
man. It's
sense.
gonna change
Oh,
all the time.
absolutely. And it kind of makes sense if you look at the progression of things. It's like, you know, there's still people out there that like post-hardcore and emo and that sort of music, but it's like you said with the demographic change, you know, it's not as digestible to the younger crowd who grew up predominantly listening to pop and hip hop music.
The thing
right?
that
So
I
it's
see
bridged
with
that
this
gap.
though
Yeah,
is that it
definitely.
might be an entry point for them, right?
Absolutely.
Like they're gonna listen to Lil Peep and XXX Tentacion and fucking like the whole roster of like these emo SoundCloud
Yep.
rappers or whatever. And it's very adjacent to the hardcore sound that we kind of grew
absolutely.
up
Yeah.
on.
Like,
Like
Little
there's
Peep has
lots of
songs
similarities, right?
using,
Like
samples from
like,
Brand New.
and like
Yeah.
Taking Back
So,
Sunday is just
exactly.
like
So
so
It's,
weird.
it's
do you
the
think you could
gateway.
see it coming full circle where this
I think so.
this genre avenue leads right back in to the scene?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, right? Like, all music's kind of circular, all fashion's kind of circular.
Yeah.
It all comes back to what degree it comes back, no one knows. But right now, there's a resurgence in emo to the extent that, you know, you've got the sad boy hip hop sort of stuff. But, you know, the next emergence of that, when people get tired of the overproduced and, like, you know, that super clean, polished sort of sound that you
Yeah.
can get from digital production. Yeah, I think it will come back full circle to being like, you know what, I want that raw sound.
There's
I want
even
those...
been some artists that I've had my eye on, hip hop artists, that are it sounds like it's branching off into like a hardcore punk
Oh,
sound
absolutely.
with
Oh,
like
yeah.
these crazy blown out instruments,
Yep.
loud, ridiculous, psychotic vocals.
Yeah,
like
and it's just
happening
like
already.
yeah, really raw, really
Like
brutal.
Death
And I'm
Grips.
like, okay,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Well,
Death
Well, locally,
Grips,
there's a guy
exactly.
named Leaf Grizzly that would kind of
Leaf
fit that.
Grizzly.
Yeah, and he's got beats that are more raw in the background, but he literally screams over them
Oh, cool.
for a lot of it, and then sometimes he raps or sings over it. So it's, you know, he's more our age demographic, but you know that influences the younger ones as well. So to see that come full circle, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. And I see a lot more guys using guitars and stuff like that on stage.
Yeah.
And another local artist, Jarrell and Beware Sound.
Shout out Jarrell. He's
yeah.
coming on the show. in a
Yeah, I
little
saw he's
bit.
coming next week or a couple weeks from now. Or
Yeah,
something?
2 or 3 weeks down
Be
the
sure
line.
to check him
think
out.
3
He
weeks, yeah.
rips. And he, you know, Sophie, she plays keyboards live, and one of the shows that he did at Harmony Lunch, he had a guitarist as well. So,
Cool.
you
Very
know, there are artists that are bringing that aspect in and kind of merging the two. So, yeah, like you said, like I think it will kind of become
Cool.
full circle.
So, now that you've been booking more genre eccentric shows, branching away from kind of like the core audience that the Tri-Cities once
Yeah.
had, is this because your music taste is changing, or is this just something that you've had to adapt to? Is it a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I've always kind of listened to everything, with the exception of country music. I can't get
Fuck
into it. I'm
country.
sorry, guys, if there's any
I can't do
country
country
people.
either,
I just
fuck that.
can't do it, man.
Yeah.
And but
guys
I've
don't like-
You don't
always
get
listened
down
You
with
guys
a
don't like
little
Song of
Garth
the
Brooks?
Trucks?
No, I can't. I mean, I'll throw on some, like, you know.
You don't have to lie
I
to
can deal
us.
with Elvis.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that country? I guess
No.
he's the king of rock and
You're
roll.
lying
but
to
me,
yourself,
it's
Kyle. You're
country.
lying to
I
yourself,
know.
Kyle.
I know I am.
What do you think?
Johnny
of the,
Cash is
oh.
all right. He's more like an old emo kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bluegrass
Yeah,
is all right.
bluegrass and
Yeah.
stuff like that's pretty
Yeah.
nice.
But other
like
than
pop country of today is just like atrocious. Like I could just vomit.
can't
man.
do it. Like I don't know. Like Taylor Swift's country apparently, but it sounds more like pop music. to
It's
me.
pop.
Yeah, I think it's
don't
kind
know.
of
know.
like the
I
the
don't know what it
transition.
is
Now she was
anymore.
country and then she transitioned to pop. Speaking of transitions to pop, what do you think of the new Bring Me the Horizon?
I
Oh,
comment.
okay. See,
I don't like
haven't
it.
really gave them much of a listen since like the old school days, and I
Yeah.
heard them and I was like, oh, this is kind of what they're doing, and I kind of heard like the Sempiternal like album, and I was like, oh, okay, they're trying to get more radio friendly. But then I heard this, I'm like,
Yeah, and, they
then I
went,
see
like,
the
even
credits, I'm
softer with
like-
That's the Spirit, and then this
Yeah.
one was like, you know, and That's the Spirit at first I didn't like, and then I kind of like force fed myself a few times, and
Yeah.
I was like, actually, you know what, like this album's kind of great, and I got into a few of the songs on it, and like as a whole album, it's pretty well done, and it's, you know, it's not a Bring Me the Horizon record, but it was all right. But this one, I just can't, and I've been
I
trying.
actually
I've
really
been
like it.
forced-
I like
Really?
it
See,
out
I
of all
can't
the other
do it.
ones because it's like I kind of approached it with more of like, well, the first thing I checked was let me check the credits. They are all the songwriters and like production credits, so they like. It's weird
Yeah,
that they're like
they
doing
took the
this
full-
consciously.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're hearing these choices, you're like, sure, they've probably collaborated with some people, but most of like they're taking the lead on most of like their choices here,
Yeah.
their creative choices. So I think that's kind of
Speaking
interesting.
of them writing, I saw this thing that I thought was pretty funny. They were actually writing tracks for like Limp Bizkit. And
Bizkit's still making music?
yeah,
Yeah,
apparently they
man.
were looking at making a new record, and then Limp Bizkit didn't like what came to the table, so they actually they
That's
reworked
interesting.
it. Yeah, they reworked it.
Too
and some of the
mainstream.
songs on their
It's
new
too
album were supposed to originally be for Limp
Crazy.
Bizkit, which is
Interesting.
kind of cool.
But Ollie still holds it down. If you
Yeah,
saw
he's
that
still got
video
the-
of
Oh,
him doing
yeah.
that like throwback where they played like a little like
The old-
uh,
yeah, and
medley
he's
of like
still
their old
doing
stuff, and
like
he's
Pray for Plagues.
and it's like you're
stuff.
still even your bandmates sound sloppier than you. It's like how usually like the screamer's voice is the
drummer
one
even
that
fell off.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yup.
yeah, it was kind of like all
The
right.
size of
deal with
shows
this.
that they're playing is insane.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Well, their
nuts.
main. I think I was telling you guys this earlier, or maybe you. They're definitely mainstream because I went to H&M today and I saw a like a Nirvana shirt, a Slayer shirt, and a Bring Me the Horizon shirt.
Jesus.
And I I was like, Bring Me
And
the
I
Horizon's in
saw
I don't know how I
H&M.
feel about
Wax.
that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
first time I
the
saw it
wax,
was
yeah.
at the Wax. I think with Straight Reads the Line. Like,
Yeah, I think I was at that show too.
Yeah.
it's, like,
Yeah, and
crazy.
and then
How
yeah,
he
they're.
ruptured
I remember.
his vocal cords.
Oh shit, he just did
Yeah,
this.
that
oh,
was like a recent thing. So
never mind.
going back to how,
Ollie,
never
come
mind.
on.
he was.
We thought you were
Yeah.
holding it down.
Yeah. So hopefully he's
it's like we
okay
got
from
vocal
that
training.
because that's killer.
An anagram, a very slight anagram of Ollie Sykes is Oil Skies. Just thought I should let
Thanks,
you
Ian.
guys know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm gonna take that one with me.
Skies kind of like Split the Sky, like the
Yeah.
Mastodon record.
Exactly.
Hey.
There we go.
Or the band that jams next door called Split
Hey,
the
remember
Sky
when
as well.
Mastodon?
Yeah, sweet.
Remember when Mastodon was supposed to play at Elements?
Nope.
Yeah,
Bummer.
I remember that.
It's a couple months ago.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, some shit I think maybe their manager had like some health something going on, or maybe the other band they were with, and they had to like cancel the show, and it was
There's a
like
bunch
2
of
or 3
canceled
days
shows.
before the show was supposed to
It
happen.
happened with Smash Mouth too.
Yeah, fuck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted
Oh
to get down
my.
with some
What a
Rockstar,
letdown.
man.
Jesus.
Periphery.
Oh, yeah,
Periphery.
Periphery.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was Koi, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was at
Yeah.
Koi.
Yeah.
don't
They're like,
know.
there's, it's all closed. What do you mean? Where
It's
are we
all
supposed to play?
All right, so speaking of Periphery bailing on Koi is kind of faded away, and
Yeah.
you like
You're the
how you've
phoenix.
inherited Have Hope, have kind of inherited the responsibility to continue something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe
it's-
not the maybe responsibility is not the right word, but
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, again, it was a weird thing, like how Hope Fest started, right? So I helped with the last ever Koi Fest that happened at Maxwell's, which is a totally different vibe than the previous Koi Fests. I was working with.
how was the
Kurt on
turnout for that?
It was good. I mean,
I
it
looked at the
was-
lineup and I went, I'm okay.
yeah,
no,
it was-
no offense, by
No,
that.
man, it was. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a massive outdoor festival with 10,000
Right,
people
right.
walking around.
Yeah, it
but,
seemed like a huge pivot, and
it
it
was
kind of like
basically
struck
like
me in the heart a
giant
little bit.
show, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just a giant show essentially, and it was all right. It wasn't what we expected it to be. We did expect it to be bigger than what it was, and it just kind of got to a point where it was like a bit too much, and the former like the owners of Koi Music Festival wanted to take a step back and say, you know what, we're gonna focus on what we're doing now, and they didn't want to go too much into it. So Kurt and I did like a scaled back version of it, and we were actually planning one for 2018. We're kind of in the initial stages of putting out feelers, and it was just nothing that we wanted to fall into place was kind of falling into place, but we had these holds on the venue and we did all this, and it kind of came to the point where it was like, you know, this isn't Koi.
Right.
It would just be a show full of a lot of great local bands, but that's never what Koi Music Festival was. It was more bringing in the larger acts and allowing local bands to play with those larger
Yeah.
acts, and we weren't able to accomplish that in 2018 to the degree that we wanted to. But having the holds and stuff, I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna do something, right? And I've always wanted to have my own festival, something that helped with the Have Hope brand and kind of got it out to a bigger community. So I was like, all right, let's see what we can kind of put together. And, you know, I got Single Mothers out on it and Exalt, and was able to get a couple really cool reunion shows with Three Crowns and the Intake of Glass. And I was like, you know what, this is going to be an awesome local show, local mini fest kind of thing. And it's good ground to stand on, and put that together, and then that's kind of how that came to be.
Hell
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm kind of glad that Koi went out on a note of dignity,
yeah.
because like at least for like the three of us, like we've talked about this quite a bit, where it was like that festival meant something.
Oh, absolutely.
It felt a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It rolled out in a certain type of way,
Yeah.
and the pivot year, it just felt like it transitioned so hard and abruptly. It was like, is this coy though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think personally that was the single most important festival in the city that the
Agreed.
city
Yeah.
has had. You know,
Thanks, Big Music Fest.
Because I mean, and don't get me wrong, like all those festivals are great, like Big Music Festival, Blues Festival, Jazz Festival.
But it was more for the community in terms of
and for
artists.
a younger developing demographic.
Right.
there
Like
you go.
I
As
know
opposed
I
to
went to go
playing.
see like Big D and the Kids Table play
Exactly.
at the Wax during Koi Fest, and then like 2 acts later, like Exalt's playing in the same venue, and
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And like people who were here skanking around listening to some ska are now taking in Exalt, and
One
they're
of the
like,
heaviest
whoa, this is
hardcore
fucking
bands in the
wild.
area.
Yeah. That kind of headspace, I kind of dig that, or I dug that about Hope Fest this year, because it was like you'd see a band play on one stage and within 5 minutes the other one was playing and you like didn't know what you were gonna get.
Yeah, and you don't miss anything that way too. And that was kind of that was the one thing I loved about Koi and that I wanted to continue, was that people were being exposed to music that they didn't normally listen to. Like you said, going from a ska band to a hardcore
Yeah, it was like
band
trick or treating
whatever.
for a music fan.
Exactly, and that's something I wanted to carry on, but in a way that was accessible to everybody. So as opposed to, the Koi Festival had multiple venues, multiple stages where you might have a couple acts playing at the same time, and that's commonplace for a music festival. But I wanted to do something where it was like, no, you're going to damn well listen to this band, and you can go wherever you want in the venue, but you're still going to have to listen to this damn band, okay? So we did it in a sense where it was the 2 stages back and forth, and then had the acoustic stage outside. So wherever you were, you're constantly bombarded by music that likely most people hadn't heard.
That's a great idea.
Because, a lot of it was built on the local community coming together and being like, okay, let's support something cool and local. But it was built in a way where it was, there's 5 pop punk bands, 5 hardcore bands, 5 metal bands. So there's a lot of guys that would come out and be like, I'm here to support the metal scene. And then suddenly they're listening to a pop punk band or some sort of new wave, like, shoegazy type rock band, and being like, oh, damn, this is really cool. And it exposes people to something they normally wouldn't see and pushes that comfort zone. And I think that of itself drives a scene forward and builds the community more than anything. And that's going back to why I say Koi Music Festival was the most important festival. That's a huge reason why. It was because I can't even begin to explain the number of bands I saw there for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never heard of Northlane but everyone's
They played
like,
there?
yeah,
Really?
in Opus Lounge, man, 200
Really?
capacity. And like, it was the year that they released
that first
that first record that just blew up.
with like what's that song
And
called?
I hadn't heard of them yet, but everyone was like, man, I'm gonna go see this Northlane band. And I was like, all right, I'll go
That's
see Northlane. And then
crazy.
right after Northlane, Backtrack played, and I was like, who the hell is this? And it was the first time I had heard of Backtrack, and it
Whoa.
was absolutely unreal. Singularity,
Discoveries,
Discoveries,
yeah.
yes.
Was
Discoveries.
this the Koi Fest that had Eat It at the end, where they had to do like the last minute change to
Yeah,
the
they
wax,
put
and it
him in
was
the
that
wax.
insane
It was
thing?
absolutely
The videos
nuts.
from that place.
I have a
Oh,
video.
man.
I have a video from the balcony, and I showed him the audio is trash because it's all muffled, but you just see people on the beams,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
the guitarist goes on
It
the
was
beam, and he like
probably one of the most
falls off.
insane shows I've ever seen. I think
Yeah.
the most insane shows I've ever seen have all happened at the Wax. Like, I saw the Chariot at the Wax as well, and like they were like
Yeah, I don't know
doing
what-
cannonballs off the
It's-
lights.
it's
and,
funny that
like,
you-
Maylene, yeah.
Sounds
It's funny that you
disaster.
bring that up, because one of my questions was going to be, what's the craziest shit you've ever seen go down at like a local venue? And
Oh,
in my
dude.
head, I had stories, and they're all at the Wax as well. Like, I don't know what it is, but the spirit
Those
of
are
that
the
venue
craziest
fucking
shows
get
I've
people
ever
going.
seen. But
the
I mean, I've
pillars.
seen some like
Yeah.
ridiculous stuff at like small shows. Like at one show at the Hive, there was like some
R.I.P.
70-year-old man like wiped out down those stairs going down. There was like blood all over the walls, and I happened to be the first guy to turn the corner and see this, and I was like, holy fuck. And like, I turned to like the bar owner at the time, and I was like, man, like, you got to call an ambulance.
There's a dead
and,
guy
like,
down
that
there.
was crazy. And then some guy tried to do a backflip off the stage at the gig one time, and that
R.I.P.
if you remember that
R.I.P.
stage,
dude who did the
all these
backflip.
venues, man.
At the gig.
Almost, dude. Like he half rotated and just kind of landed straight on his
And
head.
if you're
off
gonna
that
try to
6
pull off a
stage.
fucking
When you see the-
backflip, at least know what you're
dude.
doing.
It was just
practicing.
I'm gonna
insane.
learn on my way down.
But it was one of those moments where you see like those videos where like some guy tries to stage dive into nothing.
Yeah.
Because it was like a pretty empty crowd. Like I think it was Dr. Acula that was playing. And you know, there was like 150 people in an 800 capacity venue, and this guy tries to do a backflip
booked that?
into the crowd and just head first into the ground, and like, oh my god, I can't begin to explain the number crazy. Probably the most crazy stuff always happened at the Hive. It was just like an interesting neighborhood to be in.
Sure.
Like you'd have some
yeah.
interesting people wandering
Oh,
in throughout the
yeah.
night, and
Ne'er-do-wells, miscreants, vagabonds.
I feel
But
like
it
Open
always made it
Sesame
fun.
gets that. The randoms like
Yeah.
walking in and just kind of like hanging around the show, and everyone's like, "This
actually-
person has stolen the show," and everybody just focuses on that person because like, what did you say?
yeah.
Oh, and it was when Romancer was playing, and I think she like grabbed the mic from Adam, and Adam was like, "I don't know what to do." Adam was like, "I don't know what to do."
I remember that. There was a guy actually, speaking of Open Sesame and like random people wandering in. This was a cool situation, not like a scary like, oh shit, someone call an ambulance situation,
Okay.
but like I had this dude walk in and he was just kind of like standing at the back, and like I tried to like make small talk with him inside the venue, and we couldn't really hear each other. He was probably in his mid 50s, late 50s. And finally, like at the end of the show, he came in at the very beginning and stayed the whole show. And at the end of the show, I was like, hey, like, you know, I've never seen you at a show kind of thing. And it's like a little 50 capacity venue, right? So you kind of recognize everybody at that space. And I was like, oh, I've never seen you with one. And he turns around with it was broken English, but he was able to say, I'm a Syrian refugee. I've been here for a week. This is my first concert.
Whoa.
And it was like a hardcore show
Whoa.
going on. So his first experience was walking into this super abrasive, hardcore punk show in this tiny fucking venue. And it was his first show, and I was like totally blown away by that. And the coolest thing to me was that he came at the beginning and stayed right till the end. So
just
like,
soaking in the atmosphere
just-
of like the culture
exactly.
and stuff.
And
It's so crazy.
It was such a cool experience and very humbling. I was like, one, how the hell did you find me? Like, he must have just wandered in, and like, two, thanks for coming. Like, I hope I see you again. Like,
Did he like it?
so, you said it was cool, but I mean, might have just been being nice.
Speaking of a
bombed
complete
stairs.
shock to the system musically, there was some punk show going on at Harmony that you were putting on, and I guess my sister and her boyfriend, they were like 15, 16 at the time. They like wanted to go get some milkshakes, and they didn't know the shit was going on, and they like show up, and it's like, oh, sorry, this is like 19 plus or whatever, and and they just like hear like all of this shit like blasting out the fucking front doors, and my sister's like, I don't know what's going on in there, and I don't know if it was you that they talked to or whoever was working at the door, but they're like, we just want some milkshakes.
Yeah, that was definitely me. I remember
Oh
that.
yeah. And you're
I
like,
was
yeah, I'll hook you up, no
absolutely.
problem.
Go grab a milkshake.
That's
No,
hilarious.
it's one of the things with Harmony, like spaces that are like that accommodating to allow me to do that kind of stuff. Like, you know, it's a 70 capacity diner, and they're letting me do hardcore and metal
Right.
and punk shows in there, and they enjoy it, which is the coolest thing. Like, you know, if they have like regular customers that walk up and want to get a milkshake, I'm like, yeah, by all means, like, go get your milkshake. I'm not gonna turn away like
Yeah.
their regular clientele
yeah,
for
yeah.
that. So that's one of the cool spots that I'm able to accommodate that kind of thing.
I
So.
wanted to mention that. I feel like the way I see it, it's like a little bit symbolic. Like, you're sort of like doing this whole like rising of the phoenix with like the music scene around here. And in partnership with Harmony Lunch, you kind of brought that shit back to life
that
too. Like,
whole, that's
like,
like
I
a
know-
landmark of the city.
Yeah.
like this like completely iconic and legendary burger shop was kind of like in a bit of disarray with the old owners, and then ownership got passed over, and
Yeah, and then they brought me on. It was actually a friend of mine was working there as part of their catering company, and he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, man, so we're experimenting with this idea of maybe bringing some bands in. Would you like to do that?" And originally it
Oh,
was like
cool.
a Thursday sort of thing, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I can do Thursdays." So I started doing Thursdays, and I think after the first week we did, I think it was Heart Attack Kids and Father Bodies were on that, and it was absolutely rammed. And aside from breaking, I think like 8 or 9 glasses that night, they were totally stoked on it.
Nice.
So it became Thursdays and Fridays, and then just recently they've let us take over the Saturdays as well. And
Cool.
Oh, no
I
way.
mean, they've also introduced plastic cups, which was
Probably a
brilliant
great
idea.
business
You know?
decision.
At least we got that sorted out after the first show. And it was one of those things where it was like, oh no, this is a brand new venue,
Yeah,
you guys,
yeah.
like stop. And I think it was probably one of the craziest shows that has happened there as far as like moshing and stuff. And I'm sitting there like, I didn't think it was gonna be this crazy.
I feel like there's probably like this energy where it was like, this has kind of been like a sacred,
Yeah, new
wholesome,
space
old timer
and-
place.
I've always wanted to fuck
Let's
this
tear
place
it
up.
the fuck up.
Let's tear this down. Well, yeah, it was a new space, and it's like being 70 capacity. It was the first rammed punk show in a while because everywhere else is like, massive capacities. And, back when I started, it wasn't so difficult to bring out 150 to 200 people to a show. But now for a local development show, that's not pulling those numbers in KW. That's, you're shooting for 50 kind of thing for most of these local shows, and you sell out the 75 capacity venue, make it look packed, and everyone has a great time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I feel like that's pretty important to like understand that you're not gonna fill out
Yeah.
100 people.
Yeah.
But if you can shoot for 50 and 75 show up and it fucking looks packed and
it's,
bumping,
people
like
love it.
Yeah,
it creates
exactly.
the atmosphere, right?
there was always something towards like the tail end of the Schwaben days where like
Yeah.
you would turn around and like it's like half empty and you're like, oh, like the
or
same
back
energy
in
is
the
just not
gig and the
here, right?
chrysalids, it was hard, and like with spaces that big, it's like, there was a time where I was sitting there going like, can I do this anymore?
Right.
Like this is, there's like the amount of money lost on shows was getting bigger and bigger and
Sure.
bigger, and it was to a point where it was like, shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do? Because like there was a total scene change around 2008, and I blame Skrillex. Screw you, Sonny Moore. Switched from emo and started playing dubstep, and then I started seeing kids with stretched ears and emo swoops hanging out front of Beta.
Yeah, I think you're
While
not
there was
totally
an
wrong
emo
on
show
that.
going on, but
Yeah.
but no, I mean obviously there's a lot more factors to it. But,
Right.
yeah, that was a big thing. Damn scene kids.
See, the thing is with the Schwaben though, it was in such a it was in a bad
Strange
location.
area.
It was in a
Oh,
bad
yeah.
location. It was right close to the highway. It's
Yeah.
like not
Yeah.
close to where anybody lived.
It
but
felt
kids-
stupid every
but
time I went to the
kids
Schwaben.
flocked there.
Yeah,
The
but
kids-
I would be like,
3 buses
why
to
am I
get there?
here?
like
Oh, you guys are all from the same neighborhood. Like I think
Yeah.
it took 3
Yeah,
buses.
it kind of
didn't
reminded me of like the movie The Warriors, where they're all like trying to get to the other side of town. Like
But you
we're
know
all
what?
in
So
like
much
this
fun
mass
happened on those buses.
congregation, like heading to the Schwaben. And by the time you get there, you're like, fuck, I'm just ready to fucking rage, man.
So much like I think half the fun though was like riding the bus with 100 of your friends to and
Yeah.
from those Arc Battle the bands at the Schwaben. Like the things I saw go on those
Oh my
buses. Like I
God,
watched like literally an entire bus get kicked off of a bus. And then everyone cheered. Walked
a
off
whole
the
bus was kicked off of a bus.
The whole bus, because people were drinking and
Yeah.
smoking and continuing to party on this bus. And like the whole bus got kicked off and literally waited at the bus stop for the next bus to come on. And like the party just continued in this bus stop and on to the next
yeah.
bus.
Holy
And I
shit.
think I think we got kicked off a second bus before we finally decided we were close enough to just walk home. So
fucking
that's
sick.
yeah, it
insane.
was crazy. That was a long time ago, man. That was
Yeah.
like 2006 or 7. But I mean, like those bus rides were great. I miss the Schwaben Club.
make the Schwaben great again.
Make
the Schwaben great again. Oh my god.
Yeah, I miss
Um,
that spot, man.
Yeah, a lot of good
There's
memories.
So many good spots that are gone now. Albert McCormick Arena.
Yeah, that place was fun.
Yeah, the community
Pretty
center
small though,
shows.
yeah.
It was tiny, but there's so much craziness that happened there too.
I miss 519 Punk.
Yeah, I miss before Facebook.
So you mean MySpace?
Make
So you miss
MySpace great again.
No, I think 519 Punk was before MySpace.
Yeah, it was.
Damn.
That was like
before MySpace.
2002, 2004. It was like the original message board there.
Yeah,
Like,
that place was awesome.
yeah. It was
Remember-
also like just a shit posting board before shit posting was even.
remember how on
Like,
MySpace
Now my
you could, like,
parents
go
are
onto
shit
the-
posting.
Bro, remember the res forums on MySpace where
Oh,
you go
yeah.
on there and then people would just be like absolutely like demolishing like all the staff. Like, oh, they'd be like, oh, Miss Selfridge told me to take off my hat, you fucker. And then someone would go on there and be like, you're a douche. And then he'd be like, I'm going to find you in the hallway, blah, blah, blah. And then
Yo,
it's
meet
just
me
like,
at the hellhole.
I think we
man.
just need to bring back MySpace. I mean, like, we're all supporting this Mark Zuckerberg guy that like made a platform to make money when
Daddy
Tom
suck.
was sitting over there. He just wanted fucking friends and we all left him, man.
Yeah.
Like,
You just
we
wanted
need to
8.
go back.
Just wanted 8 friends. Just a
wanted
top.
8 friends.
just top
That's
8.
all, he was good.
Got all the bands now.
So, with your first Hope Festival
Yeah.
finished up, do you consider it a success? Is
Yeah,
there anything that
absolutely.
you would like to change, keep the same? Well, are you planning to do another Hope
yeah,
Fest? I should
yeah.
ask
I'm
first.
actually just in the kind of initial feeler stages, kind of seeing who's available and kind of playing the initial game with it. But maybe I'll give you an exclusive. It's gonna be September 21st.
Hey.
And so. Yeah, I'm in the initial phases of kind of feeling things out and seeing who we can get into it. We've got a date lockdown and the venue lockdown again, and we're going to follow the same sort of format, but
Cool.
looking at bigger headliners this
Cool.
year. I still want to keep it predominantly local,
Mhm.
and like, again, allow local bands to play on a bigger stage and with the full production and all that sort of thing.
That's
and
awesome.
Kind of have a change of pace for the local scene there. But I'm looking at bigger headliners this year. And
Single
and-
Mothers was pretty good though.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
awesome. I love that band. Those guys
Yeah.
are great. But yeah, I wanna make it something that's a little bit more accessible and it's gonna pull people from maybe a couple different cities and sort of turn some heads for the city. So I'm hoping to. I mean, nothing's obviously set in stone yet, but
Are you trying to keep it Ontarian?
yes.
Cool.
Yes, that's always been important. I
Awesome.
mean, if something cool comes by for American bands, like last year we had Silver Age. They were on tour with
Romancer, right? Yeah.
Oh, who's
Yeah.
that? Is that Dead and Divine?
They came through. Ted and Divine coming back. No, I wish, man.
We still love Ritual.
Matt, if you're watching this, Dead and Divine reunion, make it happen, man.
Make it happen. We will all be there.
Yeah, on the low.
So with you saying keeping the same formula as last year, does that mean you're gonna still try to keep it to like a venue, or are you
Yes.
gonna?
Yeah, I'm. Right now we do have Maxwell's on hold for it, so we're gonna bring it back Maxwell's and
Okay.
kind of keep the same formatting. I would like to expand. It's one of those things where it's like with something this big, seeing where to go, like the next step is, it seems like almost infinite leaps kind of thing.
Yeah.
To bring in an outdoor staging and go through all the city stuff again and that kind of thing, or to have a venue bigger than 700 capacity, which would be necessary for kind of taking that next step and growing it. So
Yeah,
I
guess
feel
with
like you're
festivals is-
positioning yourself in like a great way though.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
it's
people
always-
look at last year and they go, "Oh, this was like serious."
Yeah, yeah.
like this was no like mamby-pamby, like let's slap something together. Like it was
no,
well.
and I wanted to make sure that was captured and people like understood that, like, we want to be around and we want people to support this and want to see this out into the future and stuff like that. So this year we're focusing on bringing bigger acts in and still keeping that local feel to it and stuff like that. But I eventually would love to make it a bigger, more accessible thing.
Who would be your dream headliner?
Oh God,
Like the one act. If you could pick one act, and it doesn't have to be too.
doesn't have to be
Hundreds.
Ontarian. Doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You
That's
could just
such
pick
a hard
anything.
question.
If one guy was
man.
like,
I've
hey-
always been predominantly I love emo music, man. So if I could get like The Used or Say Anything.
That'd be
or,
Fuck
like
yes.
Taking Back Sunday, playing
Hell
like
yeah.
Tell All Your Friends front to back. I'd be pretty excited.
Oh, tell all your friends.
Yeah.
What happened with that kind of thing locally? So for people who are listening, there was
Yeah.
this thing locally that used to happen that at one of the nightclubs around this town, there was a night out of like the month or the
Yeah,
year.
it was Thursdays once a month. We did it for a little bit to see if we could get some traction on it. With
Yeah.
it was at District Nightclub, and it was essentially kind of like an emo DJ night.
Tell all your friends though. I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck,
all
I
the
forgot
Tell
about
Stories.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of carrying off of the Throwdown Thursdays, which used to happen at Phil's back in the day, which was was Andy, who I originally
okay.
partnered with Have Hope. So coming full circle again on
Cool.
that. And I was kind of like, you know what? Like this used to be the Abstract location, which was
Like
the
alternative.
alternative place, right? So
R.I.P.
I was like,
Abstract.
this would be really cool if we could get something going, and Chad at District was able to facilitate it a couple times and let us try it out, and I don't know, it was cool, but it didn't catch fire like we thought it might. So we would rather focus on. Well, I would rather focus on
Oh, yeah.
bringing live music as opposed to having DJs rehash
Definitely.
oldies. So
Definitely.
moved my focus over to there and
Didn't
kept
you have
that.
Lockwood holding it down on that night?
Yeah, he was DJing, or he was a special guest DJ that
Cool.
night. It was Jamie Hedemotor, who was like my partner on Tell All Your Friends, that was DJing most of the night, and then we had Lockwood out as a special guest. And you guys just had him here too.
Yeah,
Jeez,
man.
man.
It was awesome.
Good old Lockwood. Hi, Lockwood.
So we're coming up on like the halfway point. Do you guys want to take a little break?
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Cool. Sweet.
Peace,
Be
BRB.
right back. Hi.
Bye.
Yo, We're Back was a great movie. Just throwing that out there.
So we got about 15 more minutes with the Scene Daddy himself. So we're
Don't
gonna
leave us.
kind of
Please don't leave us.
try to
guys.
beat him over the head with some quick questions here.
Yeah.
So
Fire round.
you're planning another small, little, different kind of festival.
Yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So Chris Walton from KWC DIY, he also runs the KW Punk Rock Flea Market with his girlfriend Stacy. Had this idea to kind of have a multi-venue mini fest, kind of celebrating punk music and metal music, and he came to me with the idea, and we kind of teamed up with Brian Shade over at Chainsaw, and he runs some of the long hair metal shows, as he would say. So I like short
None of
hair
that
metal.
girly metal.
Yeah.
The ultimate feud.
Yeah. So we all kind of teamed up to put something together. Chris did majority of the booking on this one, and then I kind of helped out with the venues, and we're all working together to facilitate it. But yeah, it's happening on 420, which is like the most perfect time.
I have no idea what that day means.
It's the first legal 420, and we're having a fucking punk festival on it. You better go.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Well, I think we're gonna be walking around
hell
recording
yeah.
some shit
Yeah,
there if
absolutely.
that's cool and we don't get yelled at or kicked
Absolutely.
out of any of the venues.
Absolutely. The more the merrier, man. We can do
If
that
we get
too.
yell at, I'll just say, Carl told
said it
us.
was
Carl
cool,
said it was
man."
cool, man.
He was on my show.
Actually, maybe I'll just hand out doobies. Fuck it. Get off my back, bro.
Get off my back.
We gotta get like a press tag or something.
We're gonna be carried up like Kyle said it was okay.
But yeah, so we got 4 venues for that one. We're using Harmony Lunch, Chainsaw, Night School, and Patton Social,
Ooh,
which
Patton
is kind of
Social.
cool. Yeah, it switches things up a little
the hell is
bit.
that?
And
Old
kinds of
Thai
get it off.
Sun.
Yeah, the old
Or Viet Sun.
yeah,
Yeah,
something
Viet
like
Sun.
that. It was a Vietnamese restaurant.
Is that the place on Regina?
The one on
Yeah.
Herb and Regina.
Regina.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. That
And-
place creeped me out.
Yeah, it's cool, man. They've got like video games up in there now.
Oh,
You,
what?
Like, chill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
a
like
really
have
cool
a beer and
lounge.
like play like
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
video games,
GameCube
yeah.
and stuff. Like,
That's
yeah,
fucking
it's
awesome.
like old
Fine
school.
Christian now.
But yeah, so we've got those 4 venues locked in, and we're actually rolling out the roster and the official poster on March 1st. So
Cool.
yeah, stay tuned for that. There's a few bands already announced up on the page and stuff, but yeah.
Which page? Have Hope's page?
The Have Hope page. It's also up on the KW Punk Rock Flea Market page, and it's on the actual 420 Choose Your Own Fest Adventure event page as well.
Cool, cool. Are you excited about this one?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm pretty excited. Too.
Yeah,
I can't
it's-
wait to hear the lineup.
Me too. 'Cause I have not Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah, no, we're still working on a couple cool things that we're hoping to come through with that. But there's going to be over 20 vendors, similar to the KW Punk Rock Flea Market, and that's all going to be inside Chainsaw there.
Dope.
And it's kind of like 4 little mini fests all running simultaneously, because each stage will have its own sort of vibe going on,
Cool.
and then we're going to have performances in between acts too. So if you come watch, the punk stage, you might have some acoustic acts in between, or one of the stages we're playing with the idea of maybe adding some hip hop to it. So
Nice.
just kind of change it up and fit with that 420 vibe a bit.
I think it's
Good idea.
It falls on a Saturday, correct?
Yes.
I think that's like gonna be so paramount to this thing kicking
Blessed.
complete
Yeah.
fucking
Blessed.
ass. Like you can just kind of wander around the streets.
I mean,
you
how
fucking
perfect does that work out? 420s on a Saturday,
Right?
Last time that happened was in high school.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Was it a great day?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You have to pull out your AK.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'll
I hope
take
I
that as
remember
a
this
yes then.
fest.
Don't ask me. Ask nobody, because they don't remember either.
There's gonna be pictures of the festival, so we can all like pretend that we
Yeah.
remember.
True. Well, I'll probably walk around with my camera as well. So.
Oh, there's Christian passed out on the street with a press tag, with a microphone in his hand. Yeah. How does it feel being the solid foundation of this city?
We're all connected, man.
Thanks for such a strong ground. to
Have you
stand
seen an
on.
inconvenient truth? Yo, you guys are in mad danger.
Do you even know how much in danger you are?
Oh my god.
You guys seem really chill right now.
Yeah.
So we have like a little lightning round
Yeah.
of things ready for you, but before we get to that, I just want to make sure there's nothing else you have coming down the pipe you want to talk about.
Yeah. You
I've
want
got
to
a-
plug anything?
I got a really cool announcement coming tomorrow.
Okay.
Watch the
Probably
socials.
one of the biggest shows that has happened at Harmony Lunch.
Oh
Oh.
shit.
And we have a few other cool goodies kind of in the back burner that I unfortunately can't give you
That's
any
all right.
information on yet.
I'll make sure in the show notes that all your links are present so people can find you
Awesome.
wherever they need to.
At This Is Have Hope on whatever social network you care to use.
Yeah. So Ian, do you have the doc pulled up?
I do.
All right.
the
You want to
fire
you want
knock.
to you want to
Am I giving it
explain
to
to
you?
him? No, you can do it. This
All right,
this
so we're
was
just
your
gonna give you
brainchild.
We're just gonna give you a bunch of words. You just say the first thing that comes off the top of your head.
Oh no, this
Just
could be
keep it.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's gonna be quick. It's gonna be quick. All right.
All
Ready?
right.
Favorite extinct local band?
Ooh, Dead and Divine.
Harmony Lunch Burgers.
Great.
Favorite Linkin Park song?
Ooh, one step closer.
Favorite Nickelback song?
Photograph.
All right. Fortnite.
Oh, my kid plays it all the damn time.
Big Music Fest.
It's all right.
True.
Influencers.
You can do more than post half nude photos on the internet.
Best concert.
That I've seen.
Just
Uh,
go.
Maybe Blink.
Cool. When was that? What year?
2009, I think.
All right. Taking Back Sunday.
Tell all your friends.
And last but not least, Crabcore.
I think that needs actions more than words.
We
All
got
right.
a camera.
2008.
We've got a camera, Kyle.
Thanks, Attack.
Yeah, say what you want.
I saw a beautiful
And we're good.
I saw a
You survived.
beautiful picture of you in a very deep crab-like
Oh,
stance.
yeah.
We might use
Yeah.
that as the episode cover.
Yeah,
if,
that
if
was.
you give us permission.
We definitely did that when I was in a band, man. Oh, yeah,
Nice.
Crabcore was at its peak when we started this setting
Hell
sun,
yeah.
dude.
Hell yeah. So I'll just do some little questions for you.
Yeah.
What is your perfect venue, your dream venue in your head? Like you said you would like to open up your own place.
Like-
Do you have a vision
Oh,
for it?
yeah, I would love to have a venue that one is all ages accessible, because there's not enough of that crap.
Good call.
Yeah, it's so important to cultivating a community, because if no one can get out on stage when they're in high school and first kind of playing with the idea of music and wanting to play, then what is there to grow that for them, you know? Like I think all of us were blessed that in a time that in our time that we were playing music, you know, those spaces still existed. But so first and foremost it would be that. But I've always had like a dream of being able to have live music going until, you know, around 11 o'clock when a normal club night would happen, and then directly convert into a club venue, so I can
Great
support
idea.
kind of all of the stuff that I do and all of my friends' music in that aspect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you so speaking on that specifically, during Hope Fest you did like the after party
Yeah,
where like some
yeah.
DJs and stuff played? Like was that well received? Is that something you think you'll do again?
I think it was hard because most of the people there were for, punk and hardcore and metal and stuff like that. But there was a few people that stuck around, and there's quite a bit of crossover. I'm finding like the whole reason that I kind of started doing EDM in the first place was because I had a bunch of my friends that were hardcore dropouts that now do hip hop and EDM.
Cool.
So there's this massive crossover. And I mean, like, touching back on what I said about Skrillex leaving one of the biggest emo post-hardcore bands of all time to create and become one of the biggest dubstep producers of all time. There's this massive crossover between the two scenes, and a lot of it with artists like Sullivan King and Jonah Kay, who Jonah actually is my sound tech at Maxwell's. He
Shout out to
produces
Jonah.
tracks for Snails and Sullivan King, and those songs have screaming and metal in it. So there was a bit of crossover there that was well received, but I think this year I'm looking into an offsite after party. That way it's more, the guys that are playing it are able to cater that to their audience as
Right.
well as having the people that do want to do that sort of thing come out to that and give them that option as well. But yeah, I mean, I received it well. I liked it. I had fun.
It's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
It's all that matters. We're all just a bunch of kids at heart, so
Yeah.
as long as you're having a blast.
Exactly.
Fuck. That's cool. It's funny that there's like a lot of crossover between
Yeah.
those genres as well. Like
Yeah.
Mike Fro from Holly Springs Disaster
yeah.
just is putting out some new music right now, and like
Yep.
I was checking out the track and I'm like, wow, this is dope. What else has he been doing on SoundCloud? And I go back and it's all like a bunch of dubstep
Yep.
and shit. And I'm
Yep. And hip hop.
like, this is why
too.
Holly Springs had to perish. Like, come on.
Yeah, I miss that band.
Yeah, man, it's kick ass. Have you listened to the new stuff by him?
By Mike. Yeah.
It's fucking
Definitely.
kick ass.
Yeah, it is sick. It's got some Holly Springs vibe, but it's got like his singing has become like more popular. It's
Yeah.
kind of chill.
Yeah, I
It's
like it a
really
lot.
cool.
He's writing the music around his vocals rather than the band's like, hey,
Yeah,
here's some
for sure.
riffs, and he's like, all right,
Yeah.
I can do that.
I can do that.
Although nothing will ever replace Holly Springs, man.
That
It's
is so
probably
true.
One of my
So
all-time
true.
favorite bands.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? And like,
Except it's like
The-
timeless as fuck.
Everyone
I can
knows Up
listen
in
to
Smoke.
that thing back to back,
Everyone knows Up in
over and
Smoke.
over and over.
Oh, man.
Like that's like my Friday party song.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
man. It's still on my regular rotation.
Oh,
It
hell
at least
yeah.
gets played once a week. man.
It's great when you're like out with a bunch of buddies and like it comes up on like shuffle and everybody's just gonna
Singing
belt
the
out
words.
every fucking word.
Yep.
Fucking whiskey shots coming out, people getting their asses kicked, people falling all over the place.
Side note, I don't know if
It
it
just
would
like
fly in 2019 though.
I think
Some
it will.
some of that
Yeah.
lyrical content's pretty testy, eh?
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, if you listen to their other songs too.
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
like-
true. That's true.
If we're looking at some of the stuff that gets torn apart. I mean, not to come
She
down
will
on Holly
shed
Springs,
virgin
like I said,
skin.
I love this. I love that band.
Remember that? She will
Yep.
shed virgin
Yeah.
skin.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'd like to think it would fly still, but
I think it would.
I think it would too. It's
Yeah.
just it's so fucking good.
It's just fun, man.
Yeah.
Holly Springs Hope Fest. Make it happen,
Mike.
guys.
All right, so Kyle's got to head on
Yeah.
out. Do you you have any parting words for the fine folks at
Yeah.
home?
Any
Thank you
words
guys
of
for
wisdom?
tuning into Ape Audio. These guys are doing awesome stuff.
Thanks
and
for
thank
coming
you guys
in.
for having me.
Thanks for
So,
coming.
Would you like to come back sometime? Because we had
Absolutely.
a million more questions for you.
Absolutely, man. I'll come back tomorrow.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun, man. I'd love to come back anytime
Dope.
you have me.
Awesome.
Cool, man.
All right, man. You want to
Cool.
cut to a be right back and
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Bye.
Yo, what's going on?
Hi, we're back. Thanks for coming out, Kyle. That was fucking kick-ass.
Thank you, Kyle.
Our boy Devin Flynn
Yo, Devin.
has a little segment that he wants to try out on all you fine folks. So if you think it's complete hot garbage, yell at Devin and not at us.
Fucking Devin.
You're on, Devin.
I'd like to start with this was Christian's idea. I've been forced. Please help me. I'm blinking SOS. In today's news, bugs living in a local KFC have been packing their things and are moving out, citing unhealthy living conditions. Susan is planning on taking my position as head of the local homeowners association, and I won't let that bitch take it. Upstairs neighbors are undergoing surgery to have the bricks morphed into their feet removed. A local man with a curly mustache is insisting that he hates the attention it brings to his face. Tim Hortons has begun a buy one, get one free on their sandwich promotion. Now, in which this is increasing the likelihood of them fucking up your order by twofold. The magic 8-ball in your room is wishing for the day it can actually tell you what it thinks, you sick fuck. Work colleagues are wondering when it would be an appropriate time to tell you that you have something stuck in your tooth. And after a decade-long search, a local man has found the missing sunglasses that were actually on top of his head. Lastly, Donald Trump. That's it.
Thanks, Devin.
Hello.
Hey, thanks, Devin. That was a
That was
kick-ass
pretty good.
little
Pretty good, my friend.
first newscast.
Many more to come.
I hope so. Did you guys enjoy it?
Oh,
Who
I
are you
did.
talking to?
I don't know. Both of you.
You know we enjoyed it. We were sitting right here, dude.
I don't know if you guys enjoy anything.
I enjoy everything, dude.
Can I lean back from this one? Can I, like, be here?
Yeah, sure. You can be wherever you want.
Well, I don't know if that's
No,
true.
that's good. It's good.
Okay.
Just don't drop it on the ground.
What's up, y'all?
What's up, y'all?
Yo, yo, yo. So what
Yeah,
do we do
please give
now?
your feedback on that little segment. It's something new that we want to try. We all think it was pretty funny, and we hope you did too.
And it's going to be happening every week.
Yeah.
Right in your ear and eye holes.
Devin, how'd you feel about it?
I've been on camera since college. I was fucking terrified.
I loved it.
Did pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. You fucking nailed it.
All right, let's see this. Let's see this.
What's
going on?
Guys.
Oh man.
Grape break.
Oh, great break.
Grape break.
I brought grapes.
I think he just wants you to take the whole fucking thing, doesn't he?
Thanks, dude.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, so we'll, since Kyle had to cut early, we're just gonna chillax. We're gonna ruin this whole great episode we had with our bullshit for the next 20 minutes.
Perfect.
All right, Devin, flip on this video. I want to see the daddy Zuck.
What is this?
Sucking the Zuck.
The Zuck.
Hey everyone.
Oh,
We are
Christ.
live from my
What's
back
wrong with
Look at
his skin?
Look at his eyes, man.
smoking a brisket and some ribs. I am smoking these meats here.
Why is there so many cuts?
Little
Holy
meat smoking.
fuck.
It's smoking. So I'm the meat chef.
Who is that?
Look at his wife.
What?
Oh, I think someone's just.
Oh, is this a
slicing
supercut?
I think someone's super cutting
Say
a lemon.
that was his wife.
Smoking meats, set the charcoal up, and you
Fuck.
set the
He's rubbing his
wood chips
knees.
up, and then smoking meats, grilling meats. For like 12 hours. You smoke lemon chicken, smoke salmon, you'll love it.
Okay.
Sirloin, ribs and sausage.
Well, I mean, he's got a bottle of Sweet Baby Ray's in the back, so that he's kind of down to
Oh.
earth, right? He's a
No.
cheap
We
ass.
got a
No.
brisket. I'm the big guy.
Look at that barbecue, man.
Pork ribs.
That's like something you see at Rib Fest.
Could you imagine your investors telling you, okay, we're rolling out Facebook Live. You need to do this and show the people that you're a normal, functioning human robot.
Look at his friends.
You mean his wife, dude?
No, that's his wife, man.
Yo, they look like they smoke some fine dank.
Or they just say they do.
How many of you guys are eating brisket and ribs?
Yeah, they're probably the type that would
Ian is.
smoke like
Yeah.
K2.
Ribs. They taste doubly better when
I hate when
Yeah,
people say
Ian.
that word.
so
Yeah, Ian,
Fucking
weren't
doubly.
you smoking some ribs earlier?
Yeah, pull
brisket
out your ribs,
I
guy.
love. Delicious brisket and ribs. Ribs, brisket need to be eaten. I want to try your brisket. I want to try my brisket.
Oh my God.
Cut of meat, eat ribs and the brisket. Are you excited to have a rib tonight? I want my baby back ribs. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Sweet baby Ray's barbecue sauce. That is going on the ribs. Sweet baby Ray's. Sweet baby Ray's. Sweet baby Ray's is very good.
I think this is Sweet Baby Ray's on here.
Nice.
We have just applied the Sweet baby Ray's. Sweet
I
baby
wish I
Ray's.
was
That's
an
Sweet Baby
incredibly
Ray's.
antisocial
Sweet Baby Ray's.
multi-billionaire.
Take it from there.
Why?
You know how many ribs I would eat?
She's waiting for her
He walks
friends, so
weird.
Does
she
he?
knows what's coming.
I've never seen him
Sweet
walk.
Baby Ray's.
Oh.
Sweet baby Ray's.
Hey.
Have you seen that video? I mean, that picture of Zuck walking through a sea of people, like with VR headsets, like trying it out, and he's walking through all of them, like probably about to give like some sort of like keynote speech, and he is just walking up past them, looking at the stage like this, and his nipples are hard. Oh no, you gotta. I think it's like hard nip Zuck.
That's a crazy
I think
way
you gotta
to
look it
tell
up.
me his nipples
Look
are
it up
hard.
on Google. Just type in Mark Zuckerberg VR. No, I saw it on Reddit. It was Reddit. It was like Mark Zuckerberg. Someone captioned it like, "This looks like a dystopian future." Mark Zuckerberg walking past the sea of people. Sea of people with VR headsets.
Here are
it's
Mark
the first one on
Zuckerberg's
images.
nipples.
No,
No,
get back. No,
dude.
no, go.
We're back on the Twinks, bro.
Yeah, no. Go to the
Christ.
go to the first image on the image results. Yeah, that one. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, that one.
Can we get a?
Can we get an
Enhance.
enhancement? Look at that.
Enhance.
Look at that.
Do you think on the VR headsets they're just seeing his two nipples?
And he's like, yeah.
No, that's where the cameras are, dude.
But look at that sea of people, and he's just like, this is amazing. Oh my god.
Do you think? I don't want to look at
Oh,
that
he's got those
anymore.
weird backwards legs. He's got those like
He's like an osprey.
yeah.
Do you think that he thought, since they all
He's wearing
have
the same
headsets
fucking
on,
outfit.
that he'll just rub on his little nips before he went walking out?
Dude, it's like
He's like,
that Gabby Hanna
how
shirt.
hard can I get these boys before I walk amongst the people?
They can all see I'm excited.
Look, I'm human. My nipples get hard too.
Here comes the milk factory.
What? Here comes the milk factory.
So, did you guys enjoy Kyle's company?
Question is, did he enjoy ours?
I think he did. He seemed pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
He likes laughing at old ladies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did he laugh at old ladies?
Yeah. Heard on a moped.
Oh, right.
Get it together.
I thought
Come
you were
on,
talking
man.
about
First,
the old man that fell down the stairs at the.
No, I think he was really concerned about that. Dude.
That's crazy. I don't know if I would have like the mind to be like, somebody give this guy give him a hand.
can someone give this guy an aspirin?
Hey, I'm walking here.
No, you ain't.
Whoa, man.
Somebody give him a child's aspirin.
Whoa. Little taboo there, Devin. He said
Yeah.
just to give him a
My
child's
child.
aspirin. You know what that means.
Children, guy, come on.
I'm just kidding. I don't know what that means. I think it literally means a child's aspirin.
No, buddy.
Wait, and child's aspirin?
So did you guys
Hmm.
listen to any new music or anything this
What's
week?
a prin?
New music? Nah.
No.
Nah, I haven't really been bumping anything. I've just kind of been whittling away.
Whittling.
Yeah,
Okay.
whittling
whittle,
away.
dude?
I whittle. I whittle. I dabble in the whittle.
I whittle.
I dabble in the whittle.
You whittle, whittle.
I whittle. I dabble a whittle.
You ever say a word so many times it just doesn't mean anything anymore?
Every word.
Whittle.
Whittle.
Yeah, I was only listening to like the Higher Brothers tape that came out. For anybody who doesn't know, they're like a Chinese rap group that they're on the 88 Rising label, and they do like a lot of work with like Ski Mask the Slump God and like other artists that I can't remember their
Is
names.
that the song that you sent me?
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's a song
Radio's
called
super
One Punch
weird.
Man with Denzel Curry and
Oh yeah, you put on that video here. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
so Christian.
yeah, videos. Oh
Wait,
did
no,
you
that
put-
was
did
you.
we
That
both
was you
put
that
it?
put on that video.
Yeah.
Never mind. On the weekend. Jeez, my memory is terrible.
So you're smoking all that CBD, dude.
It's a CBD, man.
Oh
Just
yeah, I
give
want to
me-
talk about that.
Yeah.
So, I ordered some OCS Ontario Cannabis Store cannabis
Whoa, cannabis, man.
for the
taboo
first
topic right now.
time this week.
It just became legal.
It showed up,
Jeez.
and I ordered it's called what the fuck's it called?
North
Yeah, North Star. That's right. It's a high CBD strain with like next to no THC, which is something I was looking for to just like kind of relax, get rid of headaches, get rid of stress, get rid of anxiety feelings, blah blah blah. It's fucking working. It's kick ass.
Big time.
But this really funny thing happened. So when they send you your pot, they also send a pamphlet that is basically like an instructional for like first time users. And I smoked a bowl, and then I'm like reading through this thing, and like most of the steps seem pretty regular, you know. It's just like, don't consume too much, don't operate heavy machinery, don't call your mother and try to get her to watch Adult Swim.
Damn it.
But then one of the things in this instructional pamphlet said, do not smoke cannabis.
I just got it.
I stared at this, and I'm going, but I just smoked it.
Like, what do
And
they
I'm
want
staring
you,
at this.
Yeah, what do they want you to do with it?
For like 2 minutes, and then it finally clued in, like, oh, they're like recommending that smoking it is not the healthiest ingestion method. You can bake with it, or you could vaporize it, or you could do whatever, you know, other than smoke
You
it.
find their website's pretty shit.
Yeah, it's trash.
Yeah.
I was trying to sort through just CBD strains,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
got no results.
Yeah.
And then when I went to like another subcategory, and suddenly there was a ton.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you can select the amount of THC and the amount of CBD, but if you select no THC or little to no THC, there's nothing.
Yeah, because they made like their search variables like way too strict. Like it doesn't go, oh, you set it to 0, so we'll go to the like closest amount that we have. It went, you set it to 0, we don't make that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna show you anything.
And it says on the North Star one, it says that you can get it in capsules, and when you go to order it, there's no capsules available.
Word.
Jeez.
So stupid.
OCS, you're slacking, guys.
Like,
Come on.
How is it this hard?
Or they reject your credit card if you have money on it anyways, and then you don't ever buy from them.
Your
You
credit
just lost a
card?
customer.
Yeah,
A legal one.
I had money on it, and they said, doesn't work.
Was it a Visa debit?
No, it's a Visa card. It's like my actual.
Oh,
And I was like, okay, well, buy from.
weird. Because they didn't accept my Visa debit, which I think is bullshit. Because like it's the fucking, like, what year are we living in that you only accept credit cards? Like
What year
there's
are
no
they living in,
there's no
dude?
PayPal options. There's no Stripe options.
What are they smoking?
Yeah.
There's no Square options. It was fucking MasterCard or Visa. That was it.
No Amex?
Or I could send a check.
What?
And that's how I knew right away that it was a government site.
Yeah.
Can you
They're like, we'll get your
No,
checks.
you can't send a check.
Holy fuck.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, they're like, we get your checks immediately, but you don't get your order for another 2 months.
Yeah, it was a pretty trash system.
Yeah.
Canada Post did real well. They got it to me in one day. So
Damn, that's pretty impressive.
shout out to Canada Post.
I'm more of a pure later guy.
The last time we'll ever.
Yeah.
We'll
Oh.
So like, I don't know. We have brick and mortar stores opening up at the start of April, I think, or they're supposed to open up. Do you think it will be an improved experience
I hope
going to
so.
the stores? Because it's still like heavily mandated by the government, even though it's like third-party individuals are opening these shops. They're still only allowed to sell like the strains provided to them by like 6 or 7 manufacturers, and they're only allowed to sell the products that like are on the OCS anyway. So basically all it's cutting out is just the shitty website.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I
That
think
that's enough to make it like convenient enough.
Yeah.
it'll
What about the price though? The price
15
is
bucks a
fucked
gram?
up.
Nope. Can't deal with that.
Yeah, I can't deal with that either.
Yeah.
I can go to Larry the Fisherman down the street and buy a fucking zip.
But but you can get your like the high CBD ones, and you know you're going to be getting
Yeah,
it.
it's true. You have like assurance of quality and like what it is. Like if you buy it from the store and it says this much percentage THC, this much percent, you know, CBD, then you know that's going to be legitimate. Whereas if you go to a local dispensary, even ones that will be, you know, third party once April comes around, I feel like those might run well, but I think it's just going to come down like any establishment to management. And if it, hopefully they don't fuck it up and corrupt it where they're like, yeah, we'll take a pinch off it and whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's like, if you think about, like, I've worked in restaurants for a really long time, and I know they aren't the same, but they do house like liquor and they sell it. And I'm not going to say any names, but a common like thing that people would do when they wanted to steal liquor, because how they would invoice the liquor every night was they would weigh it and they would just like, subtract it from the night before or see if anything is gone. And they basically just measure it with like a certain amount of dollars per, fluid ounce or whatever. But what people would do if they wanted to steal was they would just replace it with water and then reweigh it so it would weigh the same.
Right.
I'm not saying people would do the same thing with like weed, but at the same time, like people will try to find a way to beat the system.
Spray it with water.
Yeah, spray it.
Make it heavier.
Yeah. Hey, or the fact that people like, for example, I go to dispensaries in towns, to say it safely, and sometimes
that's a weird way to say it.
Just
How hard are your nipples right now?
Zuck VR level. They're fucking diamonds right now. I can cut hard. So some of these places I've been to, when they're like, oh, we have these 3 like sativa strands and these 3 indica strands, and then I'll be like, okay, give me the sativa because I like that better, but it's just never consistent in terms of the quality. Like sometimes you'll get.
Can we ask Patrick what he's looking at?
I'm just impressed by how the wall looks.
You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
It's nice not seeing the fucking tinfoil on it.
Oh, what do you mean? It says Ape Audio Podcast in glowing
Look at
letters.
that goddamn wall.
Yeah, these walls are covered in neon and beautiful
Yeah, we have no idea what you're talking about.
mason laid brick.
We used to have tinfoils on our wall.
Yeah. So this place where we're filming this right now, when I first
We can't
came
tell
in
you
here,
the location.
nope. When I first came in here, there was tinfoil on the wall, and because it was so like smoothly placed, I didn't really think anything of it because there was posters and stuff. And then I kind of just looked over. I was like, "What?" And then we put more posters up, so we kind of just forgot about it. But then it came to the point where it's like, we got to impress Kyle, so we gotta take the
We gotta take the tinfoil down.
down.
We ain't making ribs. What's the tinfoil there for?
Smoking our briskets.
Yeah, smoking, freebasing brisket.
So do you want to tell them what was behind the tinfoil?
Yeah. So what the tinfoil was laid on was like a cinder block wall, and for some reason it just had in big blue spray painted letters on a white wall. For those who are wondering the color,
Terrible red
it
shadows.
said, it just said tripping stone, and then beside it was like someone drew in like pencil crayon, like a very detailed clown. And think of like traditional clown with like the pointy hat with the pom pom and like the jumpsuit with like the 3 pom pom buttons. And it's holding like a joint in one hand, a smoking joint, and in the other hand, it's holding like a beer bottle. And it was really weird how detailed the bottle was because they were holding it like lopsided, and the liquid inside was lopsided, and it was the only thing that was like, wow, that's actually really well done. But then we're like, let's wait over it. We took a picture of it. Maybe we'll post it later. Who knows? But anyways, that's what Patrick's staring at, and it is a lovely wall. Let me tell y'alls.
Hell
Cool.
yeah.
So on the topic of cannabis, Devin pulled up a little.
Hey,
Balls, dude.
look at that wall.
Hey.
Hey.
Sick.
Right on.
Hey, there it is. Hey guys, now you know our tricks.
Apparently, several customers have found mold on their weed ordered from the OCS.
Yeah, like
Smoke it anyways.
pretty much on the first like installment of on their first orders that they were shipping out, a lot of people were finding moldy weed. But how do you identify moldy weed? I mean, I know how to, but like, what about people who didn't know?
So what's the question?
What, like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
like
No,
people who
that's
didn't
for sure, for
identify,
sure.
like
Lots of
what happened to
people-
them, like
Lots
what?
of people were ordering and like wanting to smoke for their first time ever, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, how would they know what the fuck they're looking at?
Well, I'm sure
I
like
mean,
white mold spores
yeah, that
would
looks
be one
fucked
thing,
up.
but sometimes moldy weed just looks like it's like black, and it's like kind of looks.
wow, this shit looks dank as
Yeah.
fuck.
Is there hash in this? Holy.
Yeah, I don't know. And of course, I'm sure the government won't be like really held responsible for.
Well, they won't really care. They're like,
Yeah.
too many people want to smoke weed legally, so this whole moldy business, like, yeah, well, it's not that they're covering it up. They'll just get rid of the problem. They'll, regulate more of how these big greenhouses, how they schedule like whatever kind of I'm not sure if they spray stuff on it to like prevent that, or
Yeah.
I'm sure there's nutrients
they
they,
have
they
to.
put on there, but
Yeah, I mean, like the bud that showed up for me is like, as much as I enjoy it, it's not in a great way. It's like incredibly dried out, like to the point where it's like about to go bad,
yeah. But I don't know. I like dry weed. I really like it.
Why?
Just gets the job done quicker. Doesn't need a grinder. Use my good old fingers. And
Your fingers are quite old.
I've been around.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about all that.
What?
Ain't that the truth?
I have no idea what any of you guys are talking about. It just means that
Look at your fingers, dude. They're fucking old.
I am not a.
Was there anything else you guys want to chat about today?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure, man.
I actually.
What are you saying?
I actually did want to talk about something. Oh, whoa. My throat got all gargly. I'm sure if you guys heard that like a second ago, it probably would have been all like. No, it wasn't really like that. But.
So what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Fucking tell us. Hey.
So
why don't-
Flynn's got an artist up on the page.
Hey, guy.
We've got Insta loaded. Pull it up.
Yeah.
So this artist happened to drop a cool little pamphlet. I'm gonna just get it in 1 second.
Check that shit out, boy.
So by the way, guys, packaging really well done. Pamphlet. I don't know how I feel about the whole long kind of view. I like
I
my
love it.
pamphlets to be in portrait mode, despite
No, that's
people with cell phones thinking otherwise. Don't shoot your videos in portrait, especially if it's a riot.
You're a psychopath. You're a psychopath. You shoot in portrait.
yeah.
Yep. I was actually sorry. A side note is I forget who I was talking to this about, but we were talking about like old school like ways of filming and how people will try to do that like from this time, like in like let's say 2030 or whatever.
They're
And I
gonna
can imagine
purposefully
they're
shoot portrait?
purposefully do portrait with the blown up blurry background. That's going to be like a thing because bands like
I hate
metalcore
that.
bands that are coming back and like the scene revival or whatever, these guys are already making their videos in like square like format that are like kind of greenwashed and like stuff like that. So they're already like looking back and being like, how are these videos made like
Oh
10 years
my
ago?
God.
So they're just gonna keep doing it. I feel like, in that whole portrait mode of doing videos will definitely be just like the old camcorder
I could see it.
filter, you know,
I
like
could
how
see
we
it.
do the camcorder filter on our phones and
Yeah,
shit.
and they'll do like the weird like on iPhones off to the sides of a portrait shot video. It'll do like mirrored versions of the video, like they're playing
Yeah.
those like in the side periphery.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's definitely going to be just like something that defines like an era and then just use it. Anyways,
I wonder how much this guy's art costs.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man.
Yeah.
yeah. So this guy's name is Steve Thomas Greer.
And he's a local artist, right?
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to follow him at Steve Thomas Greer.
Shout
Yeah,
out to
check out some of his
Steve.
work. It's kind of psychedelic, kind of
Yeah. He
caricature.
likes ice cream.
a little cartoony.
Imaginative textures. Unique layering.
My friend LOL owns 2 cigar shops.
What?
I was reading comments.
Oh.
I'm just reading comments abruptly.
Yeah, these are sick.
Yeah, they're really dope.
Cool.
Does he have a website where we can buy print?
Check the description.
Abracadabra signs. What's that?
Home button.
You don't have a home button on your Google Chrome?
Oh,
think it
Oh.
varies.
he's gonna try to
Paint.
finagle us.
Let's check it. Let's take a look at the numbers, guys.
Let's run the number. What do you think one of these prints? would- would
1.2K
go for?
followers.
What would
Um,
you pay for these prints?
For a print?
It depends what it's printed
Or
on.
let's say an
Depends on the
original. Let's say an
size.
original.
What size of print?
Let's say an original.
What's
Maybe
he
not a
using to
print.
paint?
I don't know.
What size of print?
Yeah. Alan saying 8x11 print. 60 to $100. We got the art intel here from Alan, local Kafka worker.
Yeah. Okay. So Alan says with works that he's seen before, it'll probably go between. What do you say? 60 to 100.
60 to 100 and an 8x11 or
Interesting.
8.5x11.
Watch.
200.
200.
That's a big leap.
I'm gonna
from
bid 201,
60.
Bob. Or sorry, Drew.
Not one of those shitty ass prints for $60.
Yeah.
Watch, now his prices are just going
The
to...
dope
Yeah,
chief.
I went to
Dope
I
chief.
went to Supercrawl in Hamilton and
Yeah, it
got
is really
some art off
similar. It's
Dope
got a
Cheese.
similar vibe.
Cool. Well, Steve Thomas Greer, go follow him. His art's pretty cool. Chances are you'll probably get an 8x11 print at 60 to $200.
Word. You
Quite
heard
a
it here
price
from
range.
Alan.
You heard it here first from Alan, local Kafka artist, local art intel.
We should interview him.
Yeah.
We could do that. All right.
Yeah.
You boys want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we'll wrap it
Always a
up.